Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. We proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. JacALYNkerbeck, and it's my absolute pleasure to be hosting this show, A Woman's Prerogative. We want to say hello to all of our viewers and listeners across the world, whether you're on one of our USA Global TV and Radio platform destinations, or you're on Amazon, or you're on Roku, or you're on E360 TV. Welcome and thank you for being here. Our topic today is a fun one, an important one. It's dressing for success, business attire etiquette in a modern workplace. If you've seen our show before, you know that this is a show with panelists from around the world. So let's get to it and welcome our team. Joining us is one of our full-time team members. Her name is Caroline.heward, and she's known as the Harley Street stress expert. She helps people bust their stress. Let's welcome her.
Hello. You took my line away from me. Always good to be here on a Monday evening, Dr. JACALYN.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. And just so people know, they can also find you on Tuesdays on Talking Heads and the Listening Mentor program. So thank you, Caroline, for all the goodness that you're sharing, all the people you're helping across the world.
Thank you.
Also joining us, one of our full-time panelists who's also in the United Kingdom, like Caroline. Her name is Dr. Justina MUTALE. She has been African American Woman of the Year. She has been and is and consistently putting herself out there in support of women and girls. She has founded the World Summit for Women and Girls. It's coming up very soon in the UK, and I'm very grateful to be part of that. She also has established a foundation to help people across the world get the education that they so want and desire and deserve. And she also has been across the world sharing her book, The Iconic Art of Leadership. Let's welcome Dr. Justina MUTALE to the program. Hello, hello.
Hello, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Hello, Caroline, and hello to all the viewers.
It's an absolute pleasure to have both of you here. And, you know, we actually have a guest today. Isn't that exciting when we have a guest?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Always adds a lovely dynamic to the mix.
Her name is Laura Windsor, and she is an etiquette expert, and she has founded the Laura Windsor Etiquette Academy. Let's welcome her and find out what she's been up to. Welcome, Laura. Hello.
Good evening. Hello. How are you all? Nice to be on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is one of our programs. It's so much fun because we each get to share our voice about something. So I encourage you to let the world know how you can help them and the value that you can bring to them. And then we'll get into our topic. Let's start with Caroline. How do you help people bust their stress?
Thanks, Dr. JACALYN. I know that'll be a reminder for everybody. Nobody's going to forget bust your stress. I help people bust their stress. How do I do that? I help with identifying the root cause of your symptoms, whether it's physical, achy back and pain, neck pain, throat problems, whether it's emotional, sadness, loneliness, whether it's behavioral, so you're complaining about a relationship, or indeed if it's like OCD. So however it's affecting you, it's whatever you're complaining about. So many people say to me, I'm not stressed, that then in the next breath, they tell me that they're not sleeping, they've got physical aches and pains, and they're complaining about somebody in their family. So that is how the stress is manifesting. I identify the root cause using root cause therapy and chakra psychology. And I look forward to helping you bust your stress.
Bust your stress. All right. Thank you, Caroline. Dr. Justina MUTALE, tell us, you help people in so many ways. Please share more.
I am a gender advocate, so I advocate for the achievement of gender equality and, of course, the empowerment of women and girls, because I believe that once we empower women and girls, then we empower humanity. I also advocate for quality education. So I offer scholarships for young people from disadvantaged rural communities in Africa to access tertiary education around the world. I am an author. I have co-authored a number of books, but my main book is titled The Art of Iconic Leadership, Advocating for Female Leadership. This book is based on that, and I talk about, I highlight outstanding women leaders that had made some massive changes in the world. I follow their journey, how they got into office, what they did during the time in office, and the legacy that they leave behind. This is a gift to the next generation woman to let them know that women have the capability to lead. I'm also an international keynote speaker. I go around the world delivering keynotes and guest lectures. And I'm a mentor as well. I'm a philanthropist. I am, of course, I'm a humanitarian. And I sit on several boards around the world. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for everything that you're doing. Laura Windsor, your opportunity to introduce yourself to our global audience. Please tell us more about how you can help people.
Yes, well, what I do is I help people from all over the world understand the appropriate behaviors in any given situation, and that could be in either in a social or business capacity. I have a lot of clients from around the world who are not connected with the Western world as much as they would like to be, so they come to London to learn a little bit of British etiquette and how to be able to create a rapport with people, because obviously countries in the Western world behave and act very differently to places such as Asia. The way people communicate, their communication styles, what is considered polite in one country may not be considered polite in another. So it's very important to help people understand the cross-cultural communication in order to create that wonderful rapport, which leads to so much success.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, and a big welcome to you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about this subject, dressing for success. When I started in the business world, I think 29 years ago, even though I'm only 40, just kidding, things were very different than they are today. And an example I want to give, which I don't think I've given before, but I did work for a company in the Midwest. I had a great experience with them, but I was living on the East Coast. And so I had my red nails, my red lipstick, and my blonde hair, and I had my red suit, and it wasn't perceived very well. And I was told that I was intimidating people, and that when the CEO saw red, that he saw stars, because it reminded him of the bottom line. He always wanted to be in the black and not in the red. And so I said, well, where I'm from on the East Coast, New York, Pennsylvania, people are dressed the way that I'm dressed. It's a fast-paced world. And so they really wanted me to change and tone it down. And that was kind of a lesson for me, because I didn't agree with it, but I listened to what they said, and I dyed my hair brown, and I stopped wearing my red. And so I conformed the way that you were supposed to conform. Now today, and then I'm going to turn over to the panel, I'm in Florida, and people are so casual. It's hard to believe. I do see some people who are dressed a certain way, but here's my first question. Can we dress for success based on our climate? And if so, are there boundaries? So I'm going to go over to the expert. Laura, tell us, what do you think?
Absolutely. You should dress according to the place that you're in, but not just that, to the local customs. As you said, you can't wear red nail varnish in a very informal environment. So obviously there are boundaries on what you can and can't wear, but there are so many very light weight fabrics, that you won't be so hot wearing a jacket and a shirt and a skirt. And also you have air conditioning, so there's no need to go around semi-naked because it's very, very hot. What can I say? It depends on the profession you're in as well, what you wear. And I always believe that you should always dress like a CEO of your company. So there's a lot to say about what one can wear and what one can't, but you have to take into consideration a few factors, such as which tonal colors actually suit you, body proportions. So it's very important to understand your body type, because you don't want to look disproportionate, because that takes away your sense of professionalism. Knowing you have to dress according to your personality as well, because there's no point wearing something that makes you feel uncomfortable, because you will be pulling down things, you'll just be fidgeting, and that says so much about you. You also have to dress for your lifestyle and for your profession. So there's a lot to think about how to dress depending on what profession you're in, what industry you're in, and what you're trying to achieve.
Thank you, Laura. Definitely appreciate that insight and those answers. So, Caroline, I'm going to go to you first. What are your thoughts about what Laura just shared?
I totally agree with you, Laura. And at the same time, I've seen some real fashion faux pas of people coming to work in completely inappropriate dress. Certainly women, where they're wearing, skirts, dresses that are much shorter than they should be and much lower than they should be. And I'm smiling because my background's marketing and PR. And it was very much a place where you could have those faux pas and almost get away with it. And at the same time, the men used to dress very formal, and the ones that didn't, especially if we were networking and doing hospitality with the professional services like lawyers, barristers, solicitors, they would be in their pinstripes. And they would be fully suited and booted when it was steaming outside. And that made them feel very uncomfortable when they saw women particularly dressed in, sort of inappropriate, or should I say, evocative gear. And it was always commented about that men couldn't wear shorts, and yet women could shorten their dress length. So yes, I quite agree with you. I've seen some terrible faux pas. And at the same time, I feel that things have relaxed so much more than when I was in corporate. I feel that the dress code is not as formal. I've seen bank managers that are women that have dressed in like softer jackets, whereas when I was in corporate previously, they were in like box type jackets, almost like a suit. And I've seen that, and I feel that that's a welcome change. And I've also seen men with short sleeve shirts if it's warm. And that's in the UK, because we have hot summers in the UK occasionally. And when it is hot, we don't know how to dress. But I have seen some great aspects of people wearing short sleeve shirts, open neck, no tie, and still looking very professional. So I totally agree with you. It's important to dress for the occasion as well as the weather, and as well as making sure that you're taken seriously. So I endorse everything that you've said and more.
Thank you, Caroline. Dr. MUTALE, I have a little bit of a different question for you, given you've extensive travel across the world and running your organization. If a person has their private parts covered, and they may not be conforming to a certain standard, but they are getting the job done, do you interface with them? Do you reprimand them? Do you ask them to change the way they're presenting themselves if they are producing and performing at the highest level?
Well, it depends. I wasn't brought up that way. I was brought up to dress according to the occasion and to dress appropriately. I am from Zambia, and it does get very hot in Zambia, but if you're an executive, you'd still wear the full suit. So you don't go short-sleeved and without a tie. You have to be what is considered appropriately dressed for that kind of office. But then again, we've got, for example, people that work in tech. They would go into the office in a T-shirt. it is suitable, it is okay for them, because that is the kind of environment in which they are working. And also you wouldn't see, for example, an air stewardess, they are always perfectly dressed and elegant, and that's also like most people that work in proper executive offices, they dress like that. But then sometimes, according to tradition and culture, for example, in Swaziland is a small country that is like attached to South Africa. And they have this traditional way of dressing. Up to now, they don't like to dress up fully. So you'd see somebody presenting the news and all they are wearing is like a loincloth. But that is okay for them because that is their traditional dress. But for example, that wouldn't be something that would be accepted, say, in Zambia, because in Zambia, we kind of inherited maybe a lot of the British way of doing things, and we are always like fully dressed. Even the traditional wear for Zambia, especially for women, they are totally fully covered from head to toe. But then, so both Zambia and Swaziland are in Africa, but we've got different traditions and cultures, and also we've got different ways of dressing. So it just depends where it is. If it were in my office, I wouldn't tolerate that kind of person. But I know perhaps maybe in Swaziland, that person would be tolerated. But I think it's always important, as Laura said and Caroline, that you should always dress for the occasion. And sometimes the way you dress, there used to be a shop that used to say, before you say a word, you should create an impression with just what you are wearing. So your clothes, sometimes, as they say, your energy announces you, and so does what you're wearing. It announces you to the people that you're going to meet.
Excellent, thank you. I appreciate all of your comments. So I have a comment, and then I have a question. So where I am in Florida right now, it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It's 93 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very, very hot. And there are a number of people who live in the area within a mile or so who go to synagogue, and they are dressed according to what their beliefs are. They're, women are covered, and they're walking a mile or so as a family, a complete unit, in the blistering heat. And I have so much respect for them, because it doesn't matter what the temperature is. They're committed to the religion and what they believe and how they're supposed to show up. They don't even look like they're sweating. I'm in the car sweating. So there's something to be said about that. But here's where I'm going next. So if you dress a certain way, okay, I'm a little flamboyant, I would say, and you're calling on an organization, let's say you're working for someone, or you're an entrepreneur, and you're calling on an organization, a client, potential client, that is in a completely different realm of dressing. So in other words, you're dressed in a suit, you're very professional, and they're in manufacturing. And so their executives are wearing maybe a collared shirt, and they're not dressed like a typical executive on Wall Street, for example. So how do you dress in those situations? I've heard you dress down. I've heard you stay to your true self, your own branding. Laura Windsor, expert in this area. What do you think?
Yes, that is quite a difficult one. I think I would slightly dress down. I wouldn't be as formal as I normally am. I would dress down a little bit too, because what it's all about is making the other person feel comfortable, and their expectations as well. If by dressing really formally and you look kind of stiff, that's going to create some barrier already before you've even opened your mouth. However, the important thing is grooming. A lot of people don't realize that grooming is just as important as the clothes that you wear. So ladies should be wearing makeup, because otherwise, if you don't put on any makeup, your face doesn't stand out. And I could say, if a lady doesn't wear makeup, why would I want to give her my business when she's not even looking after herself properly, or her hair is messy? So it's not just about the clothes. If you wear the right tonal colors, and you've got the right proportions in your clothing, and you show who you are through your clothes, I think it doesn't really matter how formal or informal you look. The important thing is that you look comfortable and you look professional, because It's not just clothes, it's your posture, the way you move, the way you greet, the way you smile. There are so many components into making a good first impression that clothing is only one small, well, not one small, it's only a part of it. So everything has to work together in order to create that great connection with a client, a possible client.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And now I have something else I want to add on to that, and then I'll go over to Caroline, Dr. Justina, and then back to Laura. So when I was in corporate, I was calling on a global company out of New York, and they specialized in hair care products. And I thought, before I went to this presentation, why not try one of their products and actually go in with it to show them that I was in alignment with their culture. And so I put out a poll across our organization to see, I was going to put this removable hair color into, a couple of places in my hair. And I asked if people thought I should go with tropical peach or sunset, whatever the case was. And so one of the executives approached me and told me, I'm not going to say the word on the air, but that he didn't want me going in there looking like a fill in the word because I was representing the organization. So if you want to really be there for your client's advocate, is it okay to try their product, to have the product on you when you go in there? Or was I really off base on that one? Let's go over to Caroline.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. It depends on how formal your organization is and theirs. And I feel that if your organization was very snooty, let's say, they would see that you were part of their brand going into another company, and they wouldn't feel that, it sounds like they didn't feel comfortable with you showing up as part of their brand. That's what it feels from what you've described. So it's not about being what the customer is, it's about showing up in the brand that you are representing from your own company. And it's what you did was wonderful. It would be sort of something that a marketing or a PR person would do that you could get away with because they can be a little bit wacky and off the wall and get away with that. But if your company is a little bit more traditional, let's say, and being diplomatic with the word, then I would say that that would be probably the right response from them, that they don't want you to go in there not looking traditional. And I do want to pick up on the makeup that Laura mentioned, because this is something that I've had a number of conversations with over the years. And I know for a fact that women who wear makeup and are well groomed, properly groomed hair and makeup all of the time, even if they've had lunch, they make sure that the lipstick is perfect and it's not worn during the day, and they look fresh midday as well as the end of the day, as if they've just put their makeup on, are the ones that get promotion and are the ones that are seen as effective, and not only effective, but they tend to get on much better than the ones that don't. And I have seen that, I've witnessed it, and I've had conversations, and I've even had conversations with people that won't wear makeup and that they seem to get left behind, even though they're still as effective, still as professional and very good at what they do, but they don't seem to get those top jobs.
What do inquiring minds say? Dr. Justina, what do you think about what Caroline shared?
I think that getting promoted because you wear makeup depends on what line of business you are in. For example, if you work in the hospital, you don't have to wear that much makeup as a nurse. And people that wear the least makeup, in fact, get promoted to become matrons and perhaps even doctors, because their job does not demand that they wear makeup. So the issue of wearing makeup also depends on where you work. Also, for example, the women that work in tech, most of them just almost dress like the men that they are working with, so they don't need to put on makeup. So of course, I love makeup. I normally never go out without putting on makeup, but I know that there are jobs and work environments in which makeup is not important, and people do still get promoted to the highest level. I think everything is in proportion to where you are, what you're doing, and what kind of business you are in the way that you dress and the way that you put on your makeup. But of course, generally, like Laura said, it's you have to carry yourself with a certain grace, and or when you go out into the world. But there are just some things that are acceptable in one place and not acceptable in another place. Just like clothes, if you go, for example, I once went to the Philippines, and I was with this young lady, and we were trying to buy some clothes. I wanted to buy something that was strapless, and they refused to sell it to me because of my age. That women at over a certain age are not allowed to leave their shoulders outside. So they refused my money because they said, no, you cannot wear this because of your age, and they wouldn't sell it to me. So people believe in different things, and I think everybody is entitled to in the way that that they believe. Of course, like I said, I come from Zambia. We have been, we kind of inherited a lot of the Western way of thinking, but there are some very traditional people in the world, just like I said, I talked about Swaziland, and now I'm talking about the Philippines, where this woman, or Thailand, where they refuse to sell me a cloth because they won't allow me to go around leaving my shoulders. And of course, you know, even with my, I've noticed this because my my avatar photo, which is in my green African dress, I leave one shoulder on the side. When I'm invited to speak in perhaps Asian settings, and they ask me to send a profile photo, and when I send that photo, I always get surprised that they would make my flyer with a different photo. For example, one that I'm wearing a full suit, and not use the one that I have sent them. They take the trouble to go to Google and dig out a different picture, and I'll just see them send a flyer not with my green avatar photo, just because my shoulder is out on one side.
Oh my goodness. You know, I'm so glad that you brought that to light, because obviously different cultures expect different things. So that's something really to be aware of. So something I want to present, and then we'll go over to Laura, is I understand if there's a sign when you first come in, or if you're planning an appointment and you have a contact there and they say, hey, just to let you know, we prefer that people do X, Y, and Z. So in the Midwest, when I was in corporate, I called on a number of businesses, and you would go there and there would be a sign, no guns allowed. Please leave your handgun at the desk. What? Like, I never even thought, like, and you know, this is, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. However, another example, I was in New York calling on a company. I'd have many meetings, maybe 7 or 8 meetings, and it was time to meet with the executives. And so I went to the meeting, and when I got there, they kept me in the lobby waiting. And then someone came out and said, where's your boss? And I said, my boss is not here. I'm here by myself. Oh, we can't let you in unless you have an older white man with you. And I said, what? I've never heard this before. So they ushered me into some other room, and they had some other guy come out, and he said, listen, I'm really sorry, but we have a strict policy that you have to be with an older man who is Caucasian, and your legs are showing. So it's completely inappropriate. And I said, you didn't think to tell me this before I got here? So what is the etiquette, Laura Windsor, if you are a business owner, or you are someone in a position of authority, and you're having vendors, suppliers, potential partners come out and meet with you, and you have certain things that you require, and you're in New York, you're not in some other country, you're in New York in the United States, where you would think pretty much anything would go. What are your thoughts?
Sorry, what do you mean by who's requiring what?
So in other words,
business owner,
the company which I was proposing something after we met virtually for all these meetings. Now it's time to let's seal the deal. Said no, because you're by yourself and not with an older man, and your legs are showing.
Yeah, I'm sure, Jacqueline, you did your research. So you did as much research as possible, but you didn't come across this part of their culture. Very difficult. You have to accept it. because that is their company culture, and there's no point arguing about it, because that's just going to make matters worse. You say, I'm terribly sorry, I do apologize, I shall come back with the required person who can then talk to you. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you want to increase your bottom line. So you just have to follow the rules.
Agreed. But if you were the organization, you're the company owner in New York, how do you relay to people who are coming to call on you that this is what's expected?
When they're there already?
Before they get there, really.
Before they get there, as in communicate to them the proper, well, using a lot of please and thank yous, and say, I'm terribly sorry. This situation may seem strange to you, but unfortunately our company culture is A, B, and C, and we would very much appreciate if you would bring whoever is the appropriate person to the meeting, so that we may create rapport and get on with our business.
Thank you so much.
Did I answer your question, Jacalyn?
You absolutely did. Yes, thank
Good.
you. We made a decision company-wide that we were not going to be calling on the company because the information wasn't disclosed up front, and it didn't seem like it was going to be a good partnership. Dr. Justina, what do you think about what I just shared? What would you have done differently, or what would you suggest as proactive as a business owner?
Well, I think when they sent you the invitation or whatever communication you had that indicated that you'd be visiting their offices, they should have done food disclosure, as they call it. So they should have mentioned in their notes or in their email or whatever communication that when you go there, this is how they expect you to arrive, and you should be accompanied by someone. So they should have made that clear before you even went there, while you were making those arrangements and agreeing that you are going to visit. But also this reminds me of, for example, some dress codes for different occasions. For example, sometimes when you're going to a party or even some nightclubs, they'll tell you no trainers and no jeans. So if you turn up in trainers or jeans, of course, they'll send you away. And then there are people that will decide they're having a party and they say it's a white party. Everybody should be dressed in white. And if you turn up in a red dress, they'll send you away. So, but there they have already told you in advance what is expected and how they want you to look when you arrive there. And so if you don't follow those rules, of course, they are the hosts. They are the ones that own the space at that time. You have to follow those rules. If you don't follow the rules, then they'll send you away.
Thank you, Dr. Justina. I agree with you. Caroline, as a resident therapist here at USA Global TV and Radio, you can imagine that situations like this are happening, and it's very stressful for people. So when a person is in this type of situation, and it could be any situation, maybe somebody gets a job, they show up in their suit or whatever it is, they're hired accordingly, and then they come to work and now they don't want them dressed the way that they're dressed. It's like, no, I showed you who I am. I showed you who I am. And so now you want me to change. How does a person mitigate or alleviate that kind of stress and still stay focused on their work?
That's a really, really powerful question, because I've known of people, especially men with long hair, get a job, and then they've gone into the company and they've been categorically told on the first day, this is not appropriate dress, you cut your hair. And I know quite a few men with long hair and with a ponytail, and it was completely against the culture of the company. And they got the job through the skills and not for the way that they looked. And what I have seen in terms of how they've responded to it is that they've tied it up in a bun so that it's very out the way, so they look very corporate, so you can't see it. And I've also seen people that have been so committed to their role that they've cut their hair and sort of fallen in line. And it really depends on how important your personality, your personal image is to you, and whether you want to sacrifice how you really are versus how the company wants you to show up. And if you want the job enough that you might conform, dealing with that stress is it right for you? Because this is the question I would ask. Well, is this the right culture, the right company, when I can't be myself? And a lot of people in our younger generations, the millennials and Generation Z, are not conforming, and they're not playing the game, and they're leaving, they're voting with their feet. Whereas I think the older generations, such as Generation X and the boomers and the silent generation, they're much more conformist, and our recent generations aren't conforming in the same way, and they're having challenges in the environment of their work and their occupation because they're not willing to give up their personal identity or their image.
Yes, that's so powerful, Caroline. And I can think of numerous situations where I've observed that myself. Dr. Justina, you, of course, have an entire university where you teach students from around the world, and you have all different generations that you're engaging with. What are you finding in terms of across the generations? Is there more likeness to people dressing similarly, or is there more discord and people saying, hey, I'm going to do me, and that's just the way it's going to be?
I think it just depends on individuals. There are some that understand that when you go in a certain space, you have to behave a certain way and you have to conform. And then there are few here and there that think that they just need to be themselves, or they can't they don't want to conform. But then I think what keeps us together in the world, it helps to kind of conform, to be like as a tribe, as a group or even a team. You believe in certain things, you've got certain values, you've got similar values, you've got similar beliefs, and you've got similar principles. That's what holds you together. And so if somebody comes in there and does not believe in the values that you have, the beliefs that you have, your perspectives, then they don't fit in that group. So it's the same thing with somebody coming to work, and if they don't believe in our values or our mission and vision or how we present ourselves to the world, then there's no need for us to have that person with us. So of course you'll find here and there one that thinks, I just want to be me. And if you can imagine the whole world, we all just wanted to be us. For example, I could have come here on TV and I say, well, the way I would like to sit is put my feet on the table while I'm doing this TV show, because that is what I want. And this is the way I feel. I mean, this is the way that I feel like doing. And this is when I can perform better in this TV show. If I have my legs up on the table while I'm speaking to, even put my legs up onto my shoulders, because that's the way I want. You wouldn't allow me to be on this TV show. So there's up to a certain extent that you can allow people to say, I want to be who I am, or I want to be myself. Because even in a family setting, parents always guide us how we should behave, because we are in a family setting. And when you go into school, the teachers also set a standard of how you should behave as part of that school. So even when you go out into the world, whether it's just a group of girlfriends, there's a code of conduct and a code of behavior for you to stay in that group. And when you go to work as well, it is the same thing. Like they say, no man is an island. You can't just always say, I don't want to do this because I want to be like this. And of course, those that refuse to conform, most of the time, like you said, they vote with their feet. They are always walking away from something just because they don't want to fully be a part of that thing.
I love the way you summed that up, Dr. Justina. And I was imagining you sitting there with your feet up on the table.
Around the shoulders.
Ow! Woo, I wouldn't have been happy about that. So thank you for that. So my last question, because we are running out of time, my last question is this. I've seen this in the workplace. I've seen this in my own company. I've seen this in the United States and around the world. Someone gets to be a certain point. Let's say they're a top performer in a sales organization, and all of a sudden, these rules don't apply to me anymore. What are they going to do? They're going to get rid of me because I'm one of the top producers, or I've achieved this, or I know them. So there is that mindset, better than. And many times I've seen people don't get knocked down because they are bringing in the money, so to speak. So I want to call you Dr. Laura now. Dr. Laura, what are your thoughts about this?
My goodness. I don't think I have many thoughts upon that. Well, I suppose they're kept until something goes wrong. It just creates contention amongst the rest of the people in the company. I don't know.
I appreciate
if they feel like that, then let them be like that. See how they get on in the very near future.
Yeah, it's kind of an atmosphere of intimidation, I think. So, our resident therapist, what do you think?
Well, the word that comes to mind is maverick. And I certainly was a bit of a maverick, well, a lot of a maverick in my time in corporate. And it was not deemed okay. It wasn't deemed appropriate. And yet I still pulled in the results. And I remember being threatened by an area manager once by saying, and she said, one of these days you're going to slip up and I'm going to be here waiting for your downfall. And I didn't, you know, I was a maverick. I pulled in the results. I did well and I got away with things. And I'm not one that does conform. And at the same time, I felt that getting results, it does win. And I like to be part of a team and the team wins. And it's all about having fun. And I was in the environments where, you know, my staff could have fun. We'd have a ball and people wanted to be part of that. And we excelled in that environment. The management, the hierarchy of management didn't like it, but I got away with it. So I was an absolute maverick and I probably still am.
Caroline, could we say you got a 1 with it? You won, not away.
They were waiting for me to fall over though.
So Dr. Justina, from a different aspect, if you were the person running the company and you had a maverick like Caroline, how would you handle her?
What if I had a maverick like Caroline? Of course, I would keep her, but I think it depends. There are so many different kinds of mavericks. Some of them are totally disruptive and they wouldn't be good for a team. Then in the end, they really demoralize the team. And if that were happening, then that maverick would have to go. And of course, you can always find somebody else, or even people that you consider to be junior to that maverick. It's because you haven't tried them. They could even perform better than the maverick. So it just depends what sort of maverick that is and what kind of energy do they bring.
Thank you so much. I've been informed we have a few extra minutes. So while we have those few extra minutes, what about dressing for success in your personal relationship? So you're in a relationship with someone, they were dressed in a certain way when you met them, you were dressed in a certain way. Now they're in sweatpants with the big elastic, you got food stains. So you're like, hey, it's not so hot, honey. Laura, what do you think? Do you confirm? Say, I just love you the way you are, baby. What do you do?
Well, hopefully it won't take you very long to understand what this person is like and the way he dresses. If you've met someone who all of a sudden dresses very formally and very elegantly and then goes into sweatpants and what have you, I find that quite hard to believe, because usually you get to know someone quite quickly in the first stages of a romance. But if that were to happen to me, I don't know. It really depends if I fell in love with him. But I would try with all my might to get him back to how I actually met him. It's just like the job, isn't it? That you think you look fine and then they tell you to cut your hair. It's just a bit sneaky. And I think that people should show their true selves in the beginning of any kind of relationship, because otherwise it's a bit deceptive.
That's very true. Putting on airs. Now, Laura, if you really love the person, would you start wearing the sweatpants?
No,
Oh.
there is no. Actually, when I'm not working and I'm at home, I've got sweatpants on right now. Actually, I shouldn't really tell you, but I have an elegant top. But when I put my feet outside that door, unless I'm going for a walk in the woods, I try and dress elegantly because that's how I was brought up. I lived in Milan, so I'm half Italian. So style and elegance is very important for me.
And that's your branding also. It's a big
It
part.
is, yes, that is right.
Caroline, in a relationship, when someone starts changing the way they dress, and I'm going to go the opposite way. You met somebody and they were kind of casual. Now all of a sudden they're watching their weight. They're at the gym. They're getting all dressed up. Is that a sign of something going on?
It could be that there's somebody else that they're seeing. That's definitely a sign if they've changed their behavior towards you, and also a sign that they weren't dressing up for you, but there is something else that they're dressing up for. So I'd watch when they're doing it, and maybe if they're texting, and maybe if they're being a bit secretive in phone calls, because that is definitely a sign that there's something else going on that wasn't going on previously. But aside from that, it's also important to look at if the relationship has stopped working, if there's something that's wrong with it fundamentally, because that will give you a clue as to why there was a change in behavior.
Caroline, while we have you on Spotlight, is it possible when someone is dressing down, they're going the opposite way? Maybe there's some type of mental health issues. Maybe there's some depression, some sadness, anxiety.
Absolutely. If somebody does start to dress down, I would say there's a couple of reasons for that. It could be that they're feeling very comfortable with you. So they're feeling so comfortable that they feel they can be their true selves, because we're not always on show. And I certainly have experienced that in relationships. And it also could be that they're very stressed. And one of the things that goes if they're depressed or anxious is their image in terms of what they wear, how often they change. Just notice how often they change their underwear, because that will be changed.
Oh, no.
Wow.
In a relationship, this is a sign. And it's important to recognize that and bring it to their attention, because if they are feeling anxious or depressed, they will not be aware that they've stopped dressing in the way that you feel they should dress.
Woohoo, Caroline. Thank you very much for that. Yes. Dr. MUTALE, as an advocate for gender equality and someone who has spoken all over the world, as you know, sometimes people think that dressing for success means you have a lot of money. A person has a lot of money. A person has resources and access to this, that, and the other. But that's not the case all over the world. So what would you share as our final tip today for someone who doesn't have the same means as others, but still wants to dress for success?
You just have to have an eye for clothes that look good, but at a fraction of the cost. As they say, having champagne for the cost of Coca-Cola, you can always find it. There's always sometimes there's some what you call factory outlets that sell beautiful clothes at a fraction of the price, perhaps sometimes 3 times the price that you'd find them in the high streets or in the shops, or even in if you're doing online shopping. So you just have to have an eye of how you can put things together at an affordable price. You don't have to spend millions of dollars in order to look good. You can always look $1 million depending on the clothes that you're wearing. And as Laura said in the beginning, it has to match the shape of your body. If it can match the shape of your body and the color can go with your skin tone, and of course you can be comfortable in that, you will look $1 million just for a fraction of the price.
Excellent, excellent work, all of you here today. I just want to close out and say that I feel like something really important is being comfortable in your own skin. I remember so many times wearing tight clothes, pulling, shifting, high heels like 8 inches towering over. Now at 61, I'm like, I'm going to do what feels comfortable for me so that I don't hurt myself, fall over, but just be comfortable in yourself. Hold your head high, have great posture, believe in yourself, care about other people. I think that's so important instead of just making it about you. How can I serve you? How can I help you? What's the value I can bring to you? And I think that will also set people saying, wow, this is someone I really want to work with or get to know better. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. Laura, thank you so much for joining us as our guest today. We look forward to seeing you again. We're going to do our lightning round where we go around and just share 1 or 2 things we want our audience to know and to invite them to contact you, to work with you. Let's start with our guest, Laura.
Can I be last so I can hear everybody else? Because this is my first time here. I need to get into it a little bit more slowly.
Let's go with Caroline.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Well, there's something new that I want to share with you. And tomorrow, that's Tuesday, Eastern Time, 2 p.m., 7 p.m. British summertime, I'm doing Talking Heads Expert Presenter. And the topic for tomorrow, Tuesday's show, is Together, the role of the family bonds in coping with terminal illness. It's something that's very dear to me. It's something that I've witnessed and something that I'm actually experiencing right now. I wish to share lots of tips, lots of understandings and awarenesses, and I look forward to seeing you then, either on the live or on the replay. But you can reach me on nomorestress@live.co.uk or call if you're international +44. If you're local, 07523 120 189. And I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
Thank you, Caroline. I look forward to producing it for you. Dr. MUTALE, what would you like to share about what's going on in your world and how you can help people?
There's so much going on in the world, but I'd like to flag out, like you did in the beginning, the World Summit on Women and Girls. October is the month that celebrates the United Nations International Day of the Girl. So we get women and girls from all over the world, of course, with their male allies, to meet with female leaders, female world leaders, and to share aspirations, dreams, talk about emerging issues to do with women and girls and how we can get the young women to reach. In fact, the theme is leveraging girls' voices for sustainable development and how we should invest in a future that can accelerate the girls' agency, potential, and of course, leadership. So we are trying, as we say, I think Caroline and I have said this before, that the 21st century is a century to release the feminine wealth and feminine spirit into leadership. So we are going to talk about why it is important to have female leadership in this digital age that we are in. You can reach me on anywhere on social media at Justina MUTALE, and of course you can Google me. I think that's all for now. I've got so many other speaking engagements around. I'll be delivering the inaugural annual Commonwealth lecture that will be coinciding with the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, talking about how to leverage our Commonwealth as a Commonwealth family. I'll also be speaking at an event to do with gender-based violence. You know, gender-based violence has been accelerated in the past few months, and it's a hot topic here in the UK. We have been asked to write to our MPs so they can stand up and protect women. So really the gender-based violence is the violence against women that we are trying to stop. And I'll be speaking on a panel on that at the Universal Peace Federation, of course, of which Caroline is a member. Thank you. Yeah, that's the World Summit on Women and Girls.
And just how can people get involved? How can people purchase tickets? What's latest and greatest?
Yes, they can, if they send us an email, or we are updating the website now. And once the website has been updated, there's a link to click and register, and that's where people can get their tickets to attend. Of course, attendance is free, but we have an awards luncheon for which people have to pay a fee.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you so much. Wow. An absolute pleasure to be here today. Laura, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
You ladies are amazing. Whatever I'm going to say now is going to be very, very, not very important at all. But the next generation of children, I do a lot of children's etiquette sessions here in London. For those of you who live here, bring your children to my classes, because that is where they're going to learn very important social skills, self-awareness, and awareness of how their actions affect other people. And if we can hone in on that and make children more aware of their actions in public, then maybe we're going to have a better world in the future. Let's hope so. Cross those fingers.
All right.
And you can contact me on Laura Windsor Etiquette on social media. I'm on TikTok and Instagram, or just my website, www.laurawindsoretiquette.com.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you all for being here. I look forward to seeing you next week. All right, everyone, I just want to let you know that we are now, in addition to being a live streaming broadcast that you can watch obviously live on the replay, we're also on the podcast platforms. Yay! So that people who want to listen to us, listen while you work, you can listen, you can watch. Please do subscribe to our channels. You can find us all over social media, as well as Roku, Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV. It's USA Global TV and Radio. And on YouTube, we're also Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. You can subscribe there as well. Thank you so much for closing out for our next show, Royal Breaking News from London, followed by You, Body, Heart, and Soul. All right, thanks again for being here. We're going to go over to our sponsors now. See you later.
We face daily cyber risks, spending over 7 hours of screen time, including 4.5 hours on mobile phones. This convenience comes with significant dangers, with cybercrime costs predicted to exceed $10.5 trillion by 2025. In 2023 alone, seniors lost over $3.4 billion to cybercrime. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, senior living facilities, investment companies, and educational institutions, both individually and in groups. We offer real-life examples to help you recognize and prevent attacks, with sessions available both in person, in selected regions, and remotely. Schedule your training session, or to learn more, contact us today. Call us at 847-845-9360. Email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com. Protect your team and family with cybersecurityeasy.com.
My name is Dr. Felix Kravitz, and I am the founder of cybersecurityeasy.com, LLC. We live in a world full of vulnerabilities and cyber risks. We spend almost 4.5 hours a day on our mobile phones. It's over 7 hours of screen time daily when including computer use. We often forget that this convenience comes with risks. Published data predicts that the cost of cybercrime will exceed $10.5 trillion in 2025. These numbers encompass not only businesses, but also each one of us, including our children and our parents. In 2023, the FBI reported over $3.4 billion lost by seniors aged 60 and older. Cybersecurityeasy.com LLC's initiative is to massively support the community by providing cyber safety coaching and improving social engineering awareness. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, seniors, and educational institutions, both individually and in groups. We cover various topics, from phone phishing attacks to AI-generated voice cloning, robocalls, password protection, and more, using life examples. Talk to us today. Call us at 847-845-9360 or email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com.